Hi everyone, I'm Ben Gonzalez and this is TDI. Well, do you know what your VIN number is or what it's used for? That long string of letters and numbers you sometimes see in the corner of the dashboard, that can come into play in an insurance claim, especially if your car is ever stolen or severely damaged. And here to joining us today to talk about VINs from the National Insurance Crime Bureau is Tully Lehman. Hi Tully, how's it going today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Well, let's start with the basics. What is a VIN number?
Well, the VIN number is kind of the code that goes with everybody's car. It actually started back in the 1950s when they started needing some way to be able to register vehicles. And unfortunately, at that point in time, each manufacturer had a different way of identifying a car. All of the VINs were different from manufacturer to manufacturer. So it wasn't until the 1980s, and 1981, in fact, when they decided, you know what, we need to have a coherent code. So the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said, let's have a standardized code that's going to be able to identify all the different types of vehicles on the road.
And that wasn't until the 80s. That's amazing that it's that net new.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's not only the fact that it came in the 1980s, but one of the other problems that they had with VINs from the 50s until the 80s was the fact that usually they were put just on the engine block. And unfortunately, there was a time period there where a lot of people would, when an engine would fail, they would replace the engine. And of course, that fingerprint, if you will, for the vehicle kind of went with the engine. So all of a sudden now you have a different VIN for the car. So in 1981, when they standardized it made things much better.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned that it's kind of a code, so that long string of numbers and letters is not all random, correct?
That is correct. Like I mentioned, it is kind of like a fingerprint for the vehicle. It identifies not only what type of car you have, but the country that it was manufactured in, who the manufacturer was, the body style, the trim for the vehicle, as well as engine type, and also has a serial number. So everything is identifying that specific vehicle. So there are no two identical VINs on the roadway.
So it is an identifier there. Why is that information useful for consumers and on the insurance side as well?
Well, for consumers, it's especially helpful for a lot of different things. For example, one, if you ever want to purchase a vehicle, let's say for a private party transfer, you can take that VIN and run it through various different services where it will identify what year the car was built. So, for example, someone may say, oh, yes, it's a 2015 Honda fill-in model here, 2015 Honda. And in fact, when you run the VIN, it comes back and says it was a 2012 Honda. You may not be able to tell the difference in the model years because a vehicle manufacturers will have several years of a particular model style, but that VIN number will be able to tell you exactly when that vehicle was built. So you'll be able to take that information and use that and be able to save yourself some money. The other thing it's used for consumers is to be able to identify, was that vehicle in an accident at some point in time, or is it a salvage vehicle? That's something that's very important for you to know as a consumer, again, to save money and also for safety functions as well. For example, the NICB started something referred to as VINCheck after Hurricane Katrina. And one of the things it did was to identify all the vehicles that had been flood damaged in that hurricane. Because when a vehicle is subject to flooding conditions, a lot of sensors can fail, such things as the airbag sensors that are along the bumpers can fail, and if you're involved in an accident, it may not trigger the airbag. Also, so many electronics in cars today, there's all these different connectors, and all those can fail if a car has been subject to flooding. Not to mention the fact that you have mold and mildew that's potentially in the carpeting as well. So you can use it for identifying any sort of damage that may have happened to a vehicle. And then for an insurer can take that VIN and be able to run it, and then again also identify if the car has been in an accident and how to insure the vehicle, exactly what age it is. And in many states, they require that you have proof of insurance, and many insurers in many states are required to transmit that vehicle identification number with the proof of insurance to the State Department of Motor Vehicles.
So that may be one of the only ways to know, especially a car from another state, kind of the background on it and its history. You mentioned that the NICB has its own tool for doing a VIN check. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right, as I mentioned, that the VINCheck, which is what the product is called, was actually started back in 2005 to identify all those flood damaged vehicles. But later it was included unrecovered stolen vehicles as well as any vehicles that are listed as salvage. So it's a great place to start to be able to put in your vehicle identification number. You do need to have that. Type that into the system, and then it will come back with a report for you. And it's free of charge. You can get up to 5 uses in a 24-hour period.
That's excellent. If the case where your car is missing, where would you find a VIN that you could use? I know that I've seen some on the insurance ID cards for one place.
Right. So there's every sort of document that goes with your vehicle has your VIN number on it. It'll be on your insurance documents. It'll be on your title. It'll be on your registration. So the DMV will have a copy. Your insurer will have a copy. And if you have that insurance card, you will have a copy of that as well.
Okay. So where do we find VINCheck? That's online, correct?
That is an online service, and if you go to nicb.org and right from the homepage, you just scroll down to the big VINCheck section on the front page there, and click on VINCheck, and then you can go to the page, and it'll take you right to it, and you fill in all your information, and away you go.
Fairly simple to use.
It's a very easy system to use. All you have to do is go to the page, put in your vehicle identification number, agree to the terms and services, hit request, and then it'll pull up all that data for you right then and there.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for doing this, Tully. So if you're thinking about a used car or just curious about your own vehicle's history, you can find the NICB's VINCheck at nicb.org/VINCheck. And if you have a question about auto insurance or any other type of insurance, you can visit our website. That's tdi.texas.gov, or you can call our helpline at 1-800-252-3439. So for Tully Lehman, I'm Ben Gonzalez. This is TDI.